What up, everybody? Bonzo here. In today's episode of Tower Tips, I'm going to talk about labs. And today's tower tip is don't become fixated on one single lab. And why this is important is because as you develop your tower, there's going to be different things that you can upgrade that are going to be more beneficial to the bottom line of your tower growth. What I mean by that is, let's say you are just working on Golden Tower duration. Those labs get pretty long. Golden Tower bonus labs get even longer. Well, that might be good for your econ, but what actually might be better for your econ is a few levels in health if you're doing an EHP build, or wall fortification, for example. So the example that I'm going to use is, I've seen some people on the Reddit post that they're like, I just maxed out damage and attack speed, which is great. Those labs are, of course, directly going to benefit your approach, your tournaments, how far you farm, because obviously more damage and more attack speed is going to let you destroy more enemies and go farther. But these labs get pretty lengthy, and if you're just focusing on only these, you're going to get to a point where one level of your damage lab is going to take like 6, 7, 8 days, and that doesn't become as beneficial as maybe doing a chain lightning shock chance lab, just the first few levels. I also see people getting fixated on lab speed, which I do have lab speed on right now, and I am going to have it going for a while. There definitely is a benefit to just maxing this out and going permanent into it if you're going to be playing the game for a long time. So my philosophy on this is keep your lab speed going permanently unless something important comes up. So for example, for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep lab speed going and have it going at 5x speed. That's great. Each time I get one of these levels to complete, and I actually did this last time, you get a 2% increase in your lab speed. So I'll look at some of these longer labs, and last time there was like 10 gems to rush it, so I just rushed it to do a test and see how much it shortened these down. I mean, it shortened it by a very small amount. I think it was only like 2 or 3 hours of like 16 days, so it's not much. But over time, that will add up. And how you look at it is when you get a lab speed lab complete, it's like every other lab gets a little bit completed as well. So by completing lab speed, you're slowly completing all the other labs. Added benefit there. However, it's going to get to the point where these are like getting to be 8, 9 days. And I run this at 5x speed, so I can essentially get, one done every 2 days, let's say. But keeping this lab slot fixated can have its detriments. So what I'll use as an example is, what's more beneficial? Waiting 8 days for a 2% increase in lab speed, or in those 8 days getting chrono field range done? Would it be more beneficial to get, let's say, 6 levels of chrono field range to get 3 meter or 18 meters extra? You see, the first lab is only 6 hours. I mean, I don't know the exact math on this and how it progresses, because I know it'll get longer faster. But I mean, with this, let's take a couple day break from doing lab speed and then just do a couple days into my chrono field range to get an extra 10, 15, 20 meters of range of extra slow outside my tower. That's going to be much more beneficial to my tower and my progress than waiting 8 days for a 2% increase to lab speed. So you kind of have to weigh that way. It's also something with, like, looking at my masteries. Like, yes, these take a long time, but is it more beneficial if I'm going for like shards and recovery package stuff to, well, wait 20 days here for recovery package mastery, or just max out like common drop chance, for example, which I already do have that maxed out. The one caveat is actually kind of module shards, because, or module labs. Module labs, such as the module shard cost and your reroll shards, they max out at about 4, 5, 6 days. And so because they max out at that time, you can get them done pretty quick. And it's very beneficial to get those done early, because then as you progress, like you'll see me, I've got 2.5 million reroll shards. I haven't rerolled much in the last couple months, and I've just been saving up my reroll shards. And that's because I got some cash mastery and the reroll lab maxed out very early. So there's kind of that push-pull. Another more specific example I'll use is wall health and just normal health and health regen. This one's actually pretty fun to cover, and I covered it a bit in my last video. This one, if you look at it, wall regen, for an extra 10% wall regen, it'll take 8 days. For health regen, to get 3%, it'll take, let's call it just 2 days. So you could just extrapolate that out, add a little bit. Let's say in 6 days, I'll get a 9% increase to my health regen, which is pretty good. Let's say 8 days is then a 12% increase in health regen versus 8 days for a 10% increase in my wall regen. So remember, we're factoring overall regen in here. So don't become fixated on just upgrading like wall regen or wall health alone. At a certain point, these labs get so long that it's actually more beneficial to stop those labs and come back here and getting normal health and health regen. And you can do the math by looking at the overall days it takes and then factoring in you're increasing it by 3% each time here versus a 10% increase here. Now, there are some labs that, yes, like you want to get them maxed out when they're available. I would say Garlic Thorns is one of them. Your reroll shards is one of them. Common drop chance is important. When you get black hole, getting second black hole. So yes, there are those labs you want to do, but don't become fixated on like getting damage or attack speed just permanently upgrading when those labs get so long that what actually might be more beneficial to your bottom line attack or bottom line defense is pausing those labs and getting some of the initial levels of other labs. Because almost all these new labs, and I'll say new as in like haven't been upgraded once, missile amplifier, 6 hours. That's insane. And you get 2.5x damage on missiles. Like, I mean, smart missiles are pretty underused. They're not really the meta right now. But you can knock out a few levels of this really, really quick. So it's more beneficial to knock out a few levels of this and then go back to what you're working on. A lot of these labs, how it works with ultimates and kind of the way to implement this is, yes, have your lab speed going in the lab, you know, pretty much permanent, except when you get your ultimates to a certain level, take a break from lab speed, and in the time it would take you to get 1 level of lab speed, you might be able to get 5 or 10 levels of like chrono field range or duration, and then you can go back to it. One example I'll use here is chrono field duration. I started this on a Friday, and by the following Tuesday, I already had 10 levels of it, and that was with 5x speed. So an extra 10 seconds of duration in the time it would have taken me for like, let's say 2 lab speed upgrades. That's more beneficial to my tower's bottom line. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just don't become too fixated on labs. Remember, labs get very time consuming the later you go. And as you progress in the game, as you unlock new ultimate weapons, as you get new things unlocked, the first 5-10 levels of pretty much every other lab, you can knock out in just a few days to get that tower feature feasible. So don't just stick on one upgrade all the way to 100. Kind of look at it like, okay, this lab's going to take 10 days for a 2% increase to my damage, but I could get 5 levels of shock since I just got my dimension core, and I can get the 5 levels of shock in the same amount of time, which is going to be more beneficial to my overall damage. So that's what I'd remember. That's what I'd focus in on, and, you know, kind of pick and choose. Even with like masteries. I know right now I've got my recovery package mastery going. When this is done, module shard cost, I'm going to do enemy balance and get a level or 2 in that. And then after enemy balance, I'll probably rotate back to something along the lines of cash mastery, just to try to get more rerolls from it with the recovery packages. And then that's going to double to help shards, which will help overall bonus increase to my tower. But don't become fixated on labs. You know, pick and choose. Keep in mind that labs get very lengthy, and in the time it takes to get 1 slight increase to your tower, you could get 4 or 5 levels of something that would give you a lot more bang for your buck and help your overall progression. So that being said, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I will not be streaming, well, today as of filming, it's 10:30. I'm going to be out of town for the weekend, so I will be back on Tuesday, the 2nd, I believe, for my next stream. And also, or actually it'll be the 4th, excuse me. P.S. I will be doing another Stone Pack giveaway. Thank you all who commented on the last video. Shout out to Lith for winning the Stone Pack. When I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do another competition, another raffle. I don't quite know the terms of how we'll have people like apply for that, but we're going to do another one. I appreciate all the support and love making these videos and helping out the community. And I love the feedback you guys give me and how we can all learn together. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you later. Peace.